Well, let me tell you about the 5 brutal reasons that my first book, second book, third book, first 10 books were rejected by virtually every publisher and agent in the country and some overseas when I first started out, and what I was doing wrong so that hopefully you can avoid it and not amass more than 250 rejections, which is something I talk about in this video here. But it worked out okay. I went on to become a hybrid author, selling more than 85 books in 24 countries. My whole goal with this channel is to help you sell a book a whole lot faster than I did. And I wrote 10 books in 8 years that were all rejected. We should have a moment for those books. The number one thing that I was doing wrong was I wasn't writing what I loved. I was writing what I knew. There's a big difference between those two things. The advice you hear a lot from other people is write what you know because you're familiar with it. Like if you're a philosopher, maybe you should write about philosophy. Or if you are a police officer, write about police procedurals. But if that's not the kind of book that you love and the kind of book that you want to read, it's going to show on the page and that passion will not be there and the book will fall flat. What I knew when I first started writing was being a reporter for Boston area papers. And so I covered a lot of suicides and hit and runs and things like that. Lots of deep, dark, angsty kind of things. So what did I write? A lot of deep, dark, angsty things. And guess what? Didn't sell because that was not the kind of writer I wanted to be. It was an editor who saw my book and said, actually, you have a comedy gene in you. Maybe you should turn this book into a romantic comedy. That I finally found my groove. And when I did that, it felt like I was finally slipping into the right place. It didn't make the book a whole lot easier to write, but I could feel in my gut that this was what I was meant to write. Other mistake that I made was I was writing to trend. And I've said this before, if you're writing to what's trending, you are a dog chasing his own tail. What's trending today may not be trending tomorrow. If you watch social media at all, you know that things can change like that. For instance, Jules LeBron on TikTok comes out with very demure, very mindful.
Very demure, very mindful.
And boom, you see that everywhere.
Very demure, very mindful.
Tomorrow, it will be some other thing. Things can change and trends can change overnight. So don't chase a trend. For me, I was writing those alpha, brooding, really controlling kind of heroes. And honestly, I kind of despise that sort of guy in real life. I don't like being in a relationship with a guy like that. I don't like dealing with a guy like that. But that was the trend, these big alpha, billionaire, super in charge guys. So I wasn't happy writing those books. And I think that negative view of them sort of bled through in the writing because these alpha guys were total jerks. You can see that in this video right here. And so everything that I was feeling was sort of showing up on the page without me even being aware of it. When I stopped chasing trends and I wrote what suited me and what was important to me, it transformed my career. And how did I do that? I sat down and I figured out what was important to me. When I first started writing books, it was because I wanted to write things that ended happily. That's why I went into writing romance initially. But then I had to think about, well, what kind of romance do I like to write and read? And I really love small town, contemporary, family-centered, food-centered type of books because that's what I was reading at the time. And that's what I loved writing. And when I slipped into that niche, it really suited my voice and what I loved to do. And that love came through on the page. So if you're just writing a fantasy novel because everybody's been talking about the Rings of Power and you're not happy with it, that's going to show. So you got to write what you love. And it doesn't matter if it's trending today. Like I said, trends can change tomorrow. So just write what you love. And if you do it well, you could possibly set the next trend. Number 3, I was in a rush. I am not a very patient person. Y'all see that my videos are like 5-6 minutes long because I really like to get back to work. I don't want to sit here for an hour watching a video or even recording a video. So I would rush books out before they were ready. I would just finish it and just get it out because I was so afraid that that editor or agent was going to forget my name. Now in real life, that editor and agent is not sitting in their office waiting, wondering, where's the next Shirley Jump book? When's that coming in? They're not centering their lives around that. And they will read your book and buy it if it's good, whether you send it in today or 2 years from now. What they are looking for is not necessarily you. They are looking for a good story that they can market and sell. So if you rush the book, you can blow your opportunity because most publishing houses do not allow you to resubmit. And on the flip side, if you decide to self-publish, if you rush the book and you come up with a lot of bad reviews, that's going to hurt your sales. It's going to hurt your visibility on Amazon. And it's going to leave readers with a bad taste when you come out with your next book. The good thing about self-publishing is that you can take down a book that gets a lot of bad reviews. But wouldn't you rather really launch it at the right time if you're putting all this effort and energy into writing it, editing it, formatting it, designing the cover, wouldn't you like to get it right the first time? So don't rush it to market, because that will show. One of the things I say a lot is that you need to let the story breathe on the page. And that means going in and really spending the time working on making every single word count, making sure that every single word advances the plot. The fourth thing that I was doing wrong was dumping so much backstory, it wasn't even funny. I really thought that the reader needed to know all of this stuff. If you guys have seen the video about my first book that didn't sell, it was about a heroine who had 3 cats, and I spent, no lie, like 3 pages detailing where each of the cats came from and what their unique personality was. Readers don't care about reading 3 pages of this person's cats that they don't know yet. Now, I love animals. I have a cat and I have a dog, and readers probably love animals too, which was maybe my thinking for doing 3 pages about the cat. But here's the thing. The reader didn't care about those cats yet, because they don't know them yet. Look at it like meeting a new person for the first time. If you meet this new person and they drone on and on and on for 30 minutes about where their cats came from or where they grew up, you're thinking, I gotta go. Like, I don't even know you. I don't care about your cats. I don't care about your hometown, because you have not built that connection yet. What you need to do with a book in the first few pages is a very delicate dance of intriguing the reader, dropping little breadcrumbs about who the character is, and getting that plot moving. Backstory stalls the plot. It puts it, boom, like a dead end at the end of a street and doesn't move forward. A plot works a lot like a road trip. It can have little tiny detours, but really what you want to do is get to the destination. That's all the reader really cares about is this going to work out? Is she going to solve the mystery? Is he going to find his child? Is she going to know the truth? That's what the reader is in it for, is that what if question you pose at the beginning. And if you take too long to get to the action that solves that what if question, the reader's going to put the book down. They don't have time to sit there and read pages and pages that don't matter to the plot, because there are so many things clamoring for your reader's attention. TV shows, streaming services, social media, other books. There's 20, 30 million books on Amazon. That's a lot of books that are going, hey, come read me. I'm way better than this book you're reading right now. So you don't want to give your reader a reason to shut the book. And a huge backstory dump is exactly that. It is a reason for the reader to close the book, because they have gotten bored, because they don't care yet. The other thing that I didn't get about backstory, and this is like a little side tip, is that backstory has to be triggered by what has happened in the plot. We don't randomly go around thinking about our memories or our past unless it is triggered by somebody mentioning it. So something in your plot or something that is said to your character has to trigger that, oh yes, I'm now thinking about that first time my heart got broken, or oh yes, I'm now thinking about that diary I kept when I was in 5th grade, because that diary holds the clues to the mystery. Those things are triggered by what happens in the plot. Study any good book and you will see that every memory that that character has been triggered by something that somebody said or did in the book. There's no unnecessary backstory. And the 5th brutal truth about why I wasn't selling my books was I wasn't trying hard enough. And I see this a lot in authors that I work with. In the very beginning, like me, they're super anxious to get this book done. They're so excited about it. They want to get it done and get it out there. And I completely get that. You've got this great story you want to tell and you really want to finish it and get it published. But there's a lot to learn about how to write a really good book. A lot. And you have to look at it like being an archaeologist. Like, I've got to dig down deep and figure out where the bones come from, how the bones go together, and then start constructing this skeleton of a great book, and then cover it with all of the great showing and the characters and all of these other things. Really digging deep and learning how to write a really good book will take you some time. But here's the truth. Not a single author on the New York Times list or any other bestseller list was born with the capability of creating strong emotional characters, showing not telling, writing powerful dialogue, creating plots that are intricate. None of them were born that way. They all had to learn. And it takes years and years of really learning and honing your craft and honing your skill. You can be born with natural storytelling ability. I see that all the time in writers that I work with. But learning how to take that story and putting it into the frame of a plot and then making it compelling and knowing when to pull back and when to go forward and when to expand and when to contract, all of that is driven by education and experience and a lot of reading. So those 3 things will really help you learn an innate sense of what works for a book. Maybe after hearing all this, you're thinking, maybe I'm just really bad at this and I shouldn't even do it at all. And I don't want you to feel that way. The whole reason I started this channel was to teach you how to do these things so that you don't end up wasting years and years and years trying to sell a book. I want you to kind of have an accelerated growth curve that I did not have when I first started out. You might be bad at it right now. That's a fact of life. I was bad at it. If you don't believe me, go watch that video. You might be bad at it now, but you can absolutely get better. You're watching this video for one. You're learning right this minute. And the more you read and the more you write, the more you're going to develop that sense of story. And you're going to get better with every single book. I get it that insecurity and imposter syndrome comes with the job. I talk about that a lot on the channel. But you have to believe that you can learn how to write a great book and start writing it. It will absolutely not be perfect the first time out. Absolutely not. And that's okay. It takes the pressure off of you to get it right the first time and get it right in one draft, because nobody does that either. Write the book and then go back and layer and revise and tweak it like making a sculpture. You got to get the book on paper so that you can work with it. So start writing it. Come to our live streams on Fridays and write with me. And during the live stream, you can ask me your writing questions or talk about what you're working on, because I would love to hear about it. And in the meantime, to learn how to write really strong characters, I recommend this video right here, because the greatest stories start with great characters.